Quitting crosses our mind all the time. When a challenge hits you, it's much easier to quit. I'm Mohammed Kazim and I'm the co-founder of Tamashee. Tamashee is a regional brand that aims to preserve identity, represent culture and color lives. We do it mainly through footwear, but we also have a travel arm. We explore different GCC countries and we also do cultural consulting. Before Tamashee existed, Mohammed was a hardworking young Emirati who had studied in the States and the UK and had come back with all this passion to give back to the UAE. I was working in a sovereign wealth fund at the time that belongs to one of the Emirates in the UAE government, and I was trying to work in the healthcare sector. That was my passion. I have a background in clinical engineering. My last position at that role, I was running a spine surgery center. So that was me. Growing up in Dubai, you grow up in a very international environment, but also growing up in the 80s and 90s, Dubai was a place that was much smaller. It was almost like a village, and we knew each other. Everyone knew everyone. Although it was small, it was still diverse. And we were exposed to many different layers of things. We were exposed to, for example, farming and seasons. We were exposed to, for example, the mulberry trees in April and May. It's very interesting because I come from a family that's mainly doctors, but also a family that was rooted in pearl trade and being merchants. Success was never about just making money. Success was about creating impact. At least for me, that was the thing that always stood out. Leaving a corporate path isn't always something you need to do, especially in the GCC where the government/corporate roles have really significant impact. At the time I was corporate or government, I wasn't able to create the impact I wanted to create, but I left so that I could create that impact. Right now, if you tell me, will I get an opportunity to create an impact at a government or corporate role, I'd take it back. I don't mind. It's all about that. Doubting vision is something we get all the time. Even myself, sometimes I doubt the vision I have. And people will always stick to what they're familiar with. Where you have a job, you have a salary, you have an income, and now you're going to go and break all this. You're the general manager of a spine surgery center. You're going to break all this so that you can reinvent a sandal that's pretty much forgotten. The question again becomes is, how do you package it in a way that makes sense to people and they see value in it? In the business world, we constantly are faced with struggles, and you constantly will question, have you done the right thing? There's no real correct answer. We were hit with COVID just on the right point the company was picking up. We were hit with now the war with Iran just at the right point when the company was picking up. Do we fight or do we just quit? Quitting crosses our mind all the time. When a challenge hits you, it's much easier to quit. But I think with time you realize that there can never be challenge free. But it's rewarding at the same time because every challenge comes with its reward. Most people will say the beginning of a brand is the hardest. But for me, I don't think that was the case. Like the beginning it is hard because there's a lot of uncertainty. But the hardest is when you're 12 years in and you find yourself at a point where everything can collapse. I think the biggest struggle is how I can make people appreciate local culture on a global level. And that wasn't easy. Why wasn't it easy? Our culture or our history was not really documented from a local lens. It was a very oral history. Now we're very fortunate to find a lot of publications from a local lens. But when we were starting, that was almost non-existent. To tell people how this is relevant at a time when you're surrounded with conflict. The Arab Spring was happening, many other things. All this made it more challenging to be able to convince people that, there's actually beauty in our culture and it can be done on a large scale way. We are not just a result of oil, not just a coincidence that we exist and we have these skyscrapers. We were a result of, millennia of history and of culture and of events that made us who we are. The ability to manage resources, the ability to manage crises over time is unbelievable. And that's what made us who we are. The resilience we're seeing today in Dubai is not just like that. It didn't just come to be. It's built into our DNA. It's ingrained into our DNA. I would say tattooed on our bodies, to be able to fight back, to be resilient, to keep changing and adapting and changing and adapting. The media, when we were starting the brand, was all about how our region is filled with violence, and it's filled with injustice, and it's filled with nothingness but oil. And so for me, it was important to show the world, no, we're beautiful just like the rest of the world is beautiful. I think being an icon is something that's very interesting. I don't see myself as an icon. I see myself perhaps as someone who can create a little bit of influence. But I think to be an icon, people need to feel the genuineness behind what you do and the true intention behind what you do. And I think that true intention is what creates icons. And people will feel this intention and people will propagate with it, and that's what will make you appreciate it. At least I hope that's what I'm trying to do and what I'm doing.